right. Welcome everyone. Welcome to the behind the scenes with 𝐬𝐭'𝐬. If you are joining live, say hello in the chat. If you're catching the replay, you're exactly where you need to be. It's not a mistake, okay? Now, today's conversation is not about motivation. It's not about pushing you harder or trying to make you do more. This conversation for today is what I call the leadership operations conversation, especially for founders, CEOs who are already seeing growth, but are starting to feel the weight of that growth. This is for you. So take your notepad, relax, because we are going to be taking some really good notes, right? I want to ask, before I do that, let me start with a very simple question for you. If you step back from your business for, say, like maybe 2 weeks, 4 weeks, okay, 2 weeks is small, right? Okay, it's okay. If you step back from your business, say like 2 weeks, 4 weeks, not emotionally right now, but operationally. I'm not saying you emotionally step back. No, I'm saying if you step back from your business for like 2 weeks or say 4 weeks, not emotionally, but operationally, would it still run? Ask yourself that question. I'm literally just coming back from coming out of a meeting, and the founder, she's like, for some reason I actually thought that I wouldn't be able to do it. And I'm like, how do you feel? And she's like, refreshed. And that's how I want you to feel. You don't just want to survive. You want your business to run. And if you cannot run your own life, if you cannot run your peace of mind, if you cannot be at ease, I'm not saying spend so much money, go on this vacation. If you close your eyes now, just visualize it. Now tell me how you feel. Now, even if you've not thought about it, think about it now. Tell me how your chest feels right now. Does it feel scared? Does it feel tight? Remember, it's not about you surviving. It's about your business running sustainably. And if this one question makes you pause, right? And that's basically what we're going to be unpacking today. So like I said earlier, all you need to do is take your notepad, your pen. Let's get down to the conversation. Let me see, share your link. No, I don't want to do this. No. Okay, so I'm just going to be looking at the comment section. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask me your questions. Put it in the comments. I will try to get it as much as possible. You can also send me a DM. That would work perfectly. Now, the behind the scenes, what we basically talk about is simple. We answer your unanswered questions. We go behind the scenes of literally what happens in our businesses. Those questions you don't want to talk about, those conversations you don't want to have, we have them. We have them here for within this 30 minutes. We would have these conversations. Now that's why I'm here. So like I said, feel free to drop your questions in the comment section. Feel free to DM me your questions. These are questions that CEOs and founders like yourself have asked me. And so I'm just coming out here to talk about them because I know that these are questions that we term as private conversations. It's okay. But I want you to think about it. Okay? We're unpacking that today. Now, here's something that I've noticed working. I've noticed this working behind the scenes in growing businesses. I said growing businesses. Now, working behind the scenes, implementing, doing this thing, it comes with a different kind of vibe. I would say talk is cheap. You just sit down, talk. But it's a different kind of vibe when you are actively in that space. You've done it. It's different. Even when you speak about it, when you give suggestions, it's different. It comes differently. Now, like I said, here's something that I've noticed working behind the scenes in growing businesses. You don't overgive because you are overly generous. Rings the bell? You don't overgive because you are overly generous. Now, you overgive because it kind of makes you feel safer. Did I hit any spot? See, overgiving becomes a survival strategy for so many of us. I mean, you step in because it is faster. It gives you this whole instant gratification. You step in because you know how to fix it. So what's the point? I can always just give it. You know, it doesn't cost me anything. Oh my, I used to say that. Like, I want to have conversations. I'll be like, I'm just going to, it doesn't cost me anything. I'm just going to, but then you forget the impact. You step in because you don't want things to fall apart, and so you're scared. You'll be like, if I don't do it, things will not work. If I don't do it, and you keep saying that, and you keep doing it, and you keep micromanaging, and you step in because you don't want slow growth. You see, all of these are kind of valid, but the thing here is that you become glued. This is what basically comes up, right? Now, you fall in, you rescue things before they break. You fill in those gaps. You are always there to fill them in. You push things, you fill those gaps before they are visible. You smoothen things overly quietly, and from the outside, it kind of looks like leadership. But internally, deep down inside of you, it feels heavy. Even as a manager in your workspace, you're like, oh, you know what? If the team doesn't succeed, this is going to fall on me. And so you write it like, instead of trying to figure out, how do I motivate these people? How do I get the best out of the team? Because you are a leader. They're not meant to do it. You're meant to get other people to do the work that they are good at. Because you're smart, you're a leader, and your team members are equally so smart and they're good at what they do. But you're there trying to put off all of this because of all of this that I listed. Internally, deep inside of you, honestly, it does feel heavy. And I know. You see, the cost of always trying to rescue things is exhaustion. Like I said, this is to make you think. I want you to sit down and tell yourself the truth. Oh, I want to do it. I want to do it. Oh, I can do it. That doesn't make you cool. Most times I've seen teams get agitated. I see teams become underperforming because maybe their leaders or their founders or their CEOs or their managers, they just be like, oh, I'm just going to do it. I'm going to make it fast. It's exhausting. It's what I call invisibility. Because when you constantly step in, the real issues never get addressed. When you find yourself constantly stepping in, those issues, the reasons why, in quotes, the people who you contract these things to, the people who you outsource these things to, the reasons why they're not giving you the results that you need, it never gets addressed. Now, systems don't mature. Ownership doesn't clarify. And the business quietly becomes dependent on you. Honestly, that is a very heavy scenario to want to find yourself in. Now, here's the part that most founders are afraid of. Let me know if you find yourself in this situation. Now, here's the part that most founders are actually afraid of. What if we step back and things break? What if? I know all these conversations are conversations you would not technically or typically. These are the systems we're talking about. Most times, I find us in that space where we're like, you know what, you see, I want to do this, I want to be this bar, I want to be this, and what. Most times we need our internal systems intact before you start to step into those tools. We've not figured out adoption. We've not figured out sustainability. We've not figured out what happens next. You're just like, I'm going to step in, I'm going to step in. For how long would you keep stepping in? People who you outsource to, people who you contract to. I know some people be like, oh, but I don't have a team, I just work alone, technically. But even to yourself, sometimes you want to be able to step back so that those issues can be fixed. So I ask this question again. What if you did step back and things broke? Let me say this clearly. If things fall apart when you step back, honestly, that is not failure. That is data. I know you'll be shocked by what all of this that I'm saying, but that's the truth. If things fall apart when you step back, that's not failure. That is simple data. That's visibility. That's your business telling you exactly where your leadership is missing out on. Now, the only thing you need to do is think clearly and see it for what it is, data. You see, what usually breaks first isn't the revenue. I'm going to share a story with you. Um, I think early in April, I had a tech founder send me a message. And then she's like, you know what, you see, what we've noticed is that we have a good number of people in our database. These people actually signed up, downloaded the app. After that first, sign up, they've not done anything yet. They're not, and obviously their money is from the consistency, is a turnover, right? That's where they get the profit from, right? I'm like, they're not on the subscription, they're not doing this, they're not doing that. And I said to her, what do you think is the problem? And she's like, the fact that we are not, making sales, I think it's a sales problem. There's something wrong with the revenue. And I'm looking at her and I said to her, it's important that we are not always quick to blaming it is a sales problem. It's a marketing problem. Have you ever sat down and think about it and be like, what if it's a decision making issue? What if it's a priority issue? What if it's a follow through issue? What if it's an accountability issue? You see where your systems are joining? And so she was staring at me, she was looking at me, and I said to her, I said, I need you to understand something. There's a reason why these people signed up, paid the first subscription, but refused to renew their subscription and refused to unsubscribe. There's a reason. Have you ever sat down to think about why? Why are they one place? Why are they not moving? Why are they not leaving? Why are they not going to the recurring subscription? Why? And then she said, she was like, oh, that's true, TC. I'm like, you have over 5,000 people. Imagine if you can, 5,000 people doing this thing, this same issue we're talking about, right? I said, imagine if you can figure out, follow through with these people, figure out what exactly their problem is, why they are not living, why they're not moving forward. Now solve their problem and then make at least 75% of them become recurring customers. Do you know how much revenue we're talking about? Do you know the sustainability behind you getting retainer clients? And then she's just there, she's looking at me and she's like, oh, that's true. I'm like, instead of you investing on topping up on this people, keep topping up on this, you keep topping, you have this tons of people. Do the maths. They're already there. They're still there. They are looking at you. They're waiting for you to reach out to them. They're waiting for you to solve their problem. They're waiting for you to ask them questions, but you never do it. All you keep doing is get more leads inside, get more leads inside, and they keep getting stuck at the same point. So you see, what usually breaks first isn't the revenue. I said this earlier. It's either decision making, your priorities, or your company's priorities, follow through, accountability. Now that's the difference between fragile growth and sustainable growth. I know we don't talk about this so much, but we're going to talk about it here because that's what the behind the scenes is about. We're going to talk about it, we're going to trash it out. You see, your fragile growth looks good from the outside, but only while you're holding everything together. But you see, sustainable growth, it continues because the business knows how to function without hearings. You know, all the hype, all the likes and the comments. You're hitting on what matters most. You see that example I gave about that client of mine? It was interesting for you to know that the only reason she was on that call with me was the confusion she was having. And just so you know, they definitely had an amazing team working. So she didn't need me to come and implement anything. She just needed me to see what they weren't seeing. And when I told her what the leak was, she just like sent it over. As I speak to you now, they actually have converted. They had like about 5,000 plus 5,007 something on in that stage. They actually have converted about 45% to reoccurring. Do the math. You see, at this stage of growth, effort is no longer leadership. Don't let anyone deceive you. All this heat. Mm-mm. It gets a time, your growth stage, effort no longer, it's no longer leadership. Working harder doesn't fix the structure. Being more available. So sometimes I even feel like when you're like scarce, that's when the work will get done. Because most times it could even be just motivation that your team needs. If you have a team, if it's you, sometimes you might just need a that whole space of fresh air, you know, new environment, new vibe, new energy. Being more available doesn't create clarity. When you're trying to help everybody, you cannot help everybody because if you're trying to help everybody, you will not help yourself. And if you cannot help yourself, why do you think people would want to why do you think people would want to even listen to you enough for you to help them? Think about it. You can only give what you have. What you don't have, you can't give. When you're trying to be there for everybody, you're trying to get on this call, you're trying to do this, you're trying to do that, what do you have for yourself? Let me give you an example. Let me give you a very short example. So say for example, right, you're like, don't get me wrong, you can do as many frees as you want. That's not the point here. But just a scenario. You keep giving your services for free. Remember, it's a service you're selling. You keep giving your services for free, keep giving your services for free, and words start to go around. Oh, she would help you do this, she'll help you do this. You become broke. That's your business, right? You become broke, you become frustrated, you become angry. Sometimes you might not even know why you're like that. And then you'd be like, oh, I'm just trying to help people. You help people and you're hungry. You help people and they don't even do the work because they don't take those services seriously, because you don't put value to it. You don't motivate them to want to do the work, to want to even take you seriously, because you are readily available. Oh, she's going to help me do this. Oh, he's going to help me do this. Okay. So when you're helping everybody, who will help you? You can't even help yourself. And the very interesting part is that once that is done and you can't help no longer, people will move on. Now, is that you being valuable? No. And mind you, over functioning doesn't also equal control. Just because you're over functional, you're doing everything, it does not mean you're in control of your business. It does not even mean you're in control of your team. It doesn't. No. Some of us have like contracted team members, outsourcing and all of that. Just because you are like here and there and it doesn't mean you're in control of things. We've seen several stories out there. So I want to ask this question. What does this shift, what does the shift actually look like? I know you're wondering what shift is that. Operational leadership. I don't mean chaos, not burnout, okay? Not burning everything down and starting over, not waking up tomorrow and be like, you know what, I'm done. I'm just going to do this. I'm going to do something else. I'm going to start another business. And you keep starting every 3 months, starting something else every 3 months. No, that's not what we're saying. Operational leadership. Now, operational leadership looks like clear ownership, documented decision part. It looks like your systems that support execution. I'm talking about when you have like Candice instead of urgency, leadership that's distributed, not centralized on you. That's operational leadership. Leadership that is distributed, leadership that feels inclusive, not centralized on you. This is how you grow in 2026 without breaking what's already working. You don't need to remove yourself overnight. That's not the point. You don't need to disappear and say, "Oh, I want to step down, step out." All you need to do is replace dependency with structure. Now you get to move from being the glue to being the architect. And when that shift happens, growth starts to feel calmer. You're no longer struggling. Your growth is cleaner. Your growth is more intentional. Even when you invest with intentionality. You invest with a clear mind. You know, okay, this is what I want, this is what I wouldn't want, without pressure. Oh, excuse me. No pressure. Don't let anybody to pressure you. You do your thing. It comes from here. Now, this is when business is scale without overwhelm. You're not distracted by what everybody else is doing or whatever everybody claims that they're doing. No, you're focused on you. All right. Now I want to leave you with a few reflection questions. If you step back, if you step back, what's the first thing that would break? Where does decision making stall? Where does ownership in your business blow out? I want you to ask yourself these questions honestly and answer them honestly. You also need to know that the answers that you get may not be entirely comfortable. I call them the uncomfortable truths. But one thing I need you to know is that they are a roadmap. So you want to pay attention. You see, this conversation, earlier when I started, I said simply this conversation is for founders, CEOs who are already growing, but they don't want 2026 to feel heavier than 2025. It's for leaders who want sustainability, not survival. If you're in that whole survival game, this is not for you. But if you want sustainability, if you want retainership, if you want, you want it to keep flowing, you don't want, pause and distractions, uncertainties, this is for you. And yes, this is the work that I do through my OBM, the online business management, retainer, and consultancy service. Now, in this part of the service, I help founders like yourself replace overgiving with operational leadership so that your business can grow without depending on you holding everything together. So you can function as the CEO that you are. Go for the networking event, be refreshed so you can represent your brand, your business, what you believe in, your mission, your vision. It should feel like it. This is what I do. Strategic execution. Now, if this resonated, the link is just right on the screen. I also dropped the link in the comment section too. Let's explore working together. Let's first get the calls out. Figure out if we're a good fit, if this is what you need to not just survive, but stay sustainable going into 2026. Let's have that chat. We can also talk in the DMs. Let's talk about it. I want to hear you out. I mean, we have few days going into 2026. I want to hear you out. Okay? Let's talk about it. Let's talk about your growth. All right. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much. I'm going to stay for a few minutes to answer your questions. Okay. Where do you get the link? No, so the link you see is not obviously clickable, but I'm going to drop the link in the comment section. It's just a call out so you can let's talk about what you have going on. And you figure out if our OBM retainer consultancy service is for you, right? Yeah, you can also DM me. That's okay. What if you don't have a team? You first are your team. Okay, let's figure out how we can create a system that gets you that dependency that you need for your business to thrive. That's the whole goal. Okay, the goal is not for you to keep working and keep working and keep earning the six figure, seven figure all by yourself. You need to create that structure, that system that would take you from that six figure to seven figure. And not just the money, not just the revenue. We're talking about the mind space, the clarity, the refreshness, you being in your zone of genius, you being in that mental cleanliness, that would help you keep loving up on what you do. All right. Thank you. Oh, you love the word operational leadership. I mean, that's it. That's it. Very strategic. All right. Okay. So that will be all the questions we're going to take today. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you. We're currently streaming this live Facebook in no, not Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me in the DMs. You can email me at info@TC Business Solutions. I want to be there for you, for your business as well. Let's build that systems and the structure. You know what? Let's structure the operational leadership that will get you scaling going into 2026. My name is TC 𝐬𝐭'𝐬 as always, and I will see you next week. No, I'll see you in the streets. I'm not going nowhere. All right. Bye.